she was killed. And they
The
tried
top
to
six
cover it
girls
up.
really look great, but you seem to have that perfect
I
aesthetic
wasn't
look.
into hip hop or even soul music.
There are definitely people that need a little Viagra.
I'm Dave Palumbo, founder of Species Nutrition. From my earliest bodybuilding days, I believed in only putting the best in my body. And that lives on in the Species Nutrition line of products. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. Hey guys, we're super excited to be here at the LA Fit Expo. It's our third year in a row. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be launching the Tasty Pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs. And we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions, diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, news, of course. Olympia weekend just wrapping up. What a weekend it was. I saw Big Ramy hoisting the Sandow Trophy for the second consecutive year. Chris Bumstead becoming the first 3-time Classic Physique Olympia winner. A host of storylines. Brandon Hendrickson is officially announcing himself as the face of the men's physique division, winning his third title in 4 years. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, so much to unwrap, and that's exactly what we've been doing over the course of the last few days as far as what took place over Olympia weekend, all the storylines, all the what next stories. And then, of course, for those that have not yet done so, check out our contest gallery. It is by the super talented Ralph Noble. His photos have just gotten exponentially it's incredible. You look at the detail, you look at just the quality of the photos. That entire gallery is live right now on the website, on RxMuscle.com. The website is back. We do apologize. We had some technical difficulties early on before Olympia week, but the website is fully functional. Contest gallery right now at RxMuscle.com. But Dave, we have so much still to unpack from this past weekend.
Sid for doing a great job in my place and spearheading all the coverage, and it was spectacular. You and Chris with the analysis, and all the people who came in and joined in and helped with the analysis. Even getting Dexter Jackson into the blade, that was a good one. I gotta hand it to you. You grabbed the good
That
one.
wasn't me. I want to give credit where credit is due. That's our good friend Alone Powers. He was helping us out this weekend as well as Arnold Classic weekend. As soon as the night show wrapped up on Saturday night, he went and grabbed us Sean Clarita, and then he grabbed us Dexter Jackson, and then he grabbed us Chad Nichols, and then during the interview, Honey Rambod had a quick funny drop in as well.
Yeah, no, that was good. So you guys did great. Obviously, Kaz did a great job with the editing, and of course, like I said, you and Chris Aceto did a great job. And also, I heard you doing the announcing at the press conference, which was great.
Yeah. That was cool. For those of you that did not, I guess, if you watched the webcast of the press conference or any of the night shows, I introduced the beginning.
Yeah.
So the press conference was a bit of a different format. Instead of me just introducing everybody in one shot as they all came in and sat on stage, this time they wanted to have something a little bit more creative. They wanted to go with the UFC boxing style thing. So you had many groups going out. So that was really cool. We had some, funny moments during that as well. But no, it was a thrill. And again, I thank Dan Solomon, Jake Wood, the entire Olympia crew for third year in a row giving me that opportunity. So that was a thrill.
Yeah, no, it was great. And I think pretty soon we're going to see Sid in there as the voice of bodybuilding pretty soon. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I'm predicting it right here on this show. Mark the calendar. Sid, Tyler, write this down. Dave Palumbo predicts it. Okay. I also want to say that the webcast was fantastic. There was a little glitch right in the beginning, but the webcast went off really good. So well that when I was watching it up on my big TV or on my computer, I was able to see everything. And I mean, it was really gave me the ability to analyze everything from home and to, pretty much do a nice little wrap up. And I felt like the coverage was really good because you guys had the live coverage there and the balanced coverage. And then we were at home, and as soon as the live cast went off, it was kind of like we went to the post-game show, which was always something that when I watch like a football game or the Super Bowl, you love the post-game show, right? Because you want to, you're so excited about what just happened. You want to hear people experts talk about it. And so Lee Priest, Ken Kamali, and John Romano, I want to thank them. They both nights, Friday and Saturday night, we came on for the post-game show, and we did about 50 minutes, and it was tremendous. We had the fans asking live questions, so I thought that went off really well, and I really liked the way we did the coverage. So I'm pretty happy, with keeping the coverage comparable moving forward. Obviously, the Arnold Classic will move back to March, so that'll probably be the next big show that we cover.
Let's also give credit to the lad, Giovanni Del Biano, helping us out big time.
That's right.
He was great.
That's right.
Yeah, great on Friday night.
Yes, he did. It's funny because sometimes it's good to have a young person's perspective in there as well. And
and he's great. He's
got a very good personality. He's got a good personality. The funny thing about the Olympia is that like everyone is so excited about it. People can't even control it. Like people have to text me as it's happening. I had like 20 people texting me at a time or more probably. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I almost can't answer everyone because I'm trying to watch the show and Chris Aceto and I are going back and forth the whole time, and Giovanni and I were also going back and forth, and it makes it more exciting because it's like we're all watching the same thing, but we're like it's almost like you have to validate in your head that what you're seeing is real. Like I know what I see is pretty real, but sometimes you're like, is he really that soft, or is he really sweating that much? And when other people start saying, yeah, and you're like, oh man, this is going to be a wild one. So you know what? I always say that with bodybuilding, always expect the unexpected because you never know who's going to be in shape and who's not going to be in shape. And I said this every single year. We all handicap the show as if everyone is in the best shape of their life, and that's never the case. You're lucky if 25% of the people are in the best shape of their life. And I would say that maybe we got 15 or 20% the most who were in shape. Probably Nick Walker was in shape, and Hadi Shupin was in really good shape. Brandon was good too. Pretty much everyone else was a little off. So I mean, and that's par for the course, guys. Don't think that that's like, oh, this was an off year. No, it's pretty par for the course. People just don't hit their peak on when they're supposed to because there's a lot of nerves involved. There's a very big mental component to bodybuilding at the highest levels. So I was happy to see that the guys who delivered, and Ramy deservedly won his second Sandow. Pulled it off on Saturday night, obviously. And Brandon's got nothing to be ashamed of. He was his best, and and that's all you ever as a bodybuilder. And I can say this from competing myself, all you could ever hope for is to be your best. So I think that Brandon probably walked away with a nice paycheck, by the way, too, $200,000 at his best. So he's got to feel good about himself, I'm sure.
Let's get to the question. And again, we appreciate all of your support during Olympia weekend. For all of you that came up to us during our coverage in Orlando and thanked us for what we do. And then again, we do this for you. You are the best part of what it is that we do throughout the course of the calendar year. Let's go to the questions. The first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. What is your spiel on the benefits of taking SOMALYZE? Looking for a non-addicting sleep aid, appreciate the quality supplements you make, but the website has limited info about SOMALYZE, what's in it, what makes it work, and how does it operate?
Okay. Yeah, one of my first two products I ever made in Species Nutrition were Lipolyze, which was a non-stimulant based fat burner, which is probably at the time I was probably the only person who even had a non-stimulant based fat burner. There's probably more out there nowadays because I just felt like the wrong way to really burn fat was to just over rev the engine by giving too many stims. It stresses people out and raises blood pressure, all the terrible things that go with it. So I wanted to make a sister product to it that would help you burn fat at night, but also help you with sleep because we all know that if you don't sleep well or if you don't sleep deep enough, you don't recover from your workouts as well. And I always had problems, especially during dieting, falling asleep at night. And the two things that I've used over the years that always stayed in my, quote, supplement program was GABA and melatonin. And I always liked GABA. And I remember when GABA came out, Bill Phillips kind of introduced us to it. It was from AST Research. It looked like GHB almost. It came in a little bottle, powder bottle with a scooper, and it was a 2-gram scooper. And 2 grams, number one, relaxed you as if you were taking very low dose Xanax or Valium. It has a similar effect because GABA stimulates GABA receptors in the brain, which relax you, which is the same thing that the benzodiazepines do. That's the Xanax and Valium and Ativan and stuff like that. So you're getting that relaxation, which enables you to fall asleep. One of my biggest problems falling asleep, especially when I was bodybuilding, was I couldn't turn my brain off. And some of that was because I was just thinking too much and I didn't really know how to relax myself at that point in my life because I was younger. Another component was that certain anabolics, especially trenbolone, really jack up the central nervous system. So that was a very nice natural way to relax your body. Plus, we all know that 2 grams of 2 grams of GABA, which is gamma aminobutyric acid, prior to bed, actually has a nice growth hormone releasing effect in the body as well. So that was great. The problem with GABA is that it relaxes you, but it doesn't keep you asleep. So a lot of people will fall asleep, but then they wake up 4 hours later and they don't know what to do with themselves because, once again, certain compounds will overstimulate you. Melatonin tells your body, essentially, it's a natural hormone produced by our pineal gland in our brains. As we get older, we don't produce as much, but it tells the brain it's nighttime, go to sleep, basically. And it keeps you in a much deeper state of sleep, almost like a more REM sleep, more deep, level sleep. So when you combine those two, the GABA helps you fall asleep, the melatonin keeps you in a deeper sleep, and actually when you take melatonin, you can sleep less and get more effectiveness out of it. If you ever see the cats that take cat naps, they'll sleep for 20 minutes and it's like they're flying off the handle after the 20 minutes of sleep because they're getting a much more restful night's sleep. So that's what SOMALYZE uses in terms of the sleep part of it, and then it has some components of non-stimulant based fat burners that will burn fat as well. So, but you can take that year. I have a lot of people that just take it year round. I do, just for sleep purposes. The other compounds in there are not going to negatively do anything, and who doesn't want to burn a little fat while they're sleeping anyway? So that's how those two products work.
Second question, again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Your general advice on hiring a coach?
I always tell people, number one, not everyone is going to get along with everyone else. That's why you could be the best coach in the business and you might not work with a certain personality or something like that. You have to kind of interview the person in the sense that, first of all, do a little research, see what they're about. Like, people know that I'm very science oriented. I'm very, this is how you do it. This is what I demand of you. You got to give me your updates. You're going to, check in with me twice a week. Yeah, here's my cell phone number. They know that it's a science program they're getting. They're not getting, psychological counseling with me. Although, I talk to a lot of clients on a regular basis on the phone who are having problems. But my point is, I'm not a babysitter. I'm not going to your house and I'm not going to train with you in the gym. I don't have time to do that. There are certain trainers, however, that will train you. They'll bring you to their house for the last 2 weeks before a show, or 6 weeks in some cases. They'll be at the show with you. They'll be in the gym with you training. If you need that type of a trainer, that's the guy you hire. So you have to figure out what your needs are, okay? Most people don't need a lot of help. They want to just, they need another set of eyes to look at them. And that, I get a lot of people who hire me because of that. And I have a lot of clients because of that, because they say, you know what, Dave can answer all my questions. I always felt like when I was dieting for a show, or when I was bodybuilding, I really had very few people I can call up and ask a question to. It's like, I felt like I knew a lot more than most people did, but I had my guys to go to. I had Scott Connolly. I had my Dr. Mike, who I can ask anything to, for many, many years. And it was very comforting to know you have someone who knows a little bit more than you, in a sense, who can answer your questions when you're just not sure about what you're doing. So you have to figure out what your needs are as a bodybuilder, and what do you need in a coach, and then what you don't need in a coach. And so you don't want to do overkill either. And then also there's a price aspect to it. Some coaches are very expensive. Some guys have the money to spend, some guys don't. I'm very reasonably priced because I want to make myself accessible to a larger amount of people. But some coaches who will charge 3 times what I charge, but they give you a lot more for that, and they're going to be there at the show. They're going to be there holding your hand because they're doing less clients. So it really, once again, it depends on what you want to spend, what your needs are, That's the best advice I can give you. And you know what? You still might do research, pick a coach, and you still might not be happy with them because you just don't get along with that person's personality. And that's fine. Then you can switch coaches. I have a million people who will come to me, they'll work with me, they'll go to another coach, they'll come back to me. You know, there's nothing wrong with trying different people. You know, there's nothing, I don't take it personally. You know, maybe some coaches do, but you really shouldn't. You know, we're doing a service. If someone goes and gets a haircut at one place and then a week, 4 weeks later, they want to try a different barbershop, that doesn't mean that they didn't like the first barbershop. It just means they want to try a new barbershop. That's all. Usually you wind up going back to the original guy you originally started with, but it's okay to try other things.
Let's go to our Instagram question. Again, if you're not already following us, our handle is official_RxMuscle. I know we had some glitches, not just obviously exclusive to us, Instagram across the board. Not only was it down earlier last week, but then it was having all forms of glitches. So us, beginning of Olympia week was a bit rocky, but once, things started to clear up, we were able to get everything to you. And of course, we have a lot of our pictures that we took during the show on our feed. Big credit to Kaz, our videographer, our photographer, took a lot of great shots from the pit that we were able to upload right away. So if you're not already following him, his handle is Photos by Kaz. And then, of course, if you're not already following us, official_RxMuscle. If you're watching us for the first time on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below, hit the notification bell. You're not going to miss anything in this post-Olympia run and everything that we have leading up to this post-Olympia tour and into the off-season. We will address some post-Olympia questions, obviously. Just a lot of you have questions, and we'll take one of the most burning questions right off the bat, and that is from Serious and Silliness. Do you think Hunter Labrada deserved 4th place and Nick Walker 5th place at this year's Olympia? Obviously, that was one of the most sought-after, matchups coming into the Olympia. 2 of the top young guns in the sport, and Hunter Labrada finishing in 4th place, 1 spot ahead of Nick Walker.
Yeah. My feeling after watching the Olympia was that, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, but I think that Hunter Labrada has the ability to go further in bodybuilding than Nick Walker does, because I think structurally he's better. And he has the size that Nick Walker has. So potentially, because look, someone can get hurt or injured. Potentially, if Hunter Labrada continues on the course he's going, I think he will be potentially a Mr. Olympia, and I think he potentially has a lot of room to make improvements and to go further. However, having said that, at this year's Olympia, I felt Nick Walker was in better shape, way better shape. He had no weaknesses. I didn't feel like he was beaten by Hunter in any categories out there whatsoever. Like, even though Hunter flows better and he's a little taller, I thought Nick Walker held his own, and I felt like they didn't get compared enough. So I personally would have had Nick Walker above Hunter, but I do like Hunter's physique better, the way it flows. But you know what? I'm a big also believer in you maximize what you're given. And Nick Walker maximized what he has, his tools and his gifts, and he brought it, man. He brought it not only to the show. He won, what is it, New York Pro, I think he won. He brought it to the Arnold when he won. New York Pro, yeah. Yeah, he won the Arnold. And you know what? He brought it to the Olympia stage. And I wouldn't have had a problem with him placing as high as 3rd, but I think Hadi Shubin, brought it home for the night show and solidified that 3rd spot. I probably would have had him 4th, and I would have had Hunter probably 5th, And you know what? You could have made a case for Bonac beating Hunter, because Bonac was in really good shape, although his legs are a little down in size. But I think that Hunter, moving forward, I don't know what happened, why he was holding so much water at prejudging. He's going to be a very, very dangerous guy in the future.
Let's go to DWG Prince. The question is about Roelly Winklaar. He's asking if you think Roelly Winklaar has essentially reached the end of the road as far as his competition career. And there have been a lot of people, whispering things about Winklaar this year. Obviously, finishing 11th at the Olympia, having a disappointing showing at the Chicago Pro, the show that Hunter Labrada won.
Right.
We're talking about only, 3 years removed from a top 3. Was it 3 years? 3 years removed from a top 3 finish at the Olympia. But,
right.
Obviously this was not a good year for Roelly. What do you make of Roelly, and do you think he bounces back from this?
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to hear my advice on this, but if I was talking to Roelly Winklaar, I would say it to his face too. I think that I've seen Roelly, when in the beginning of his career, do really well and then kind of like fall off, because I think he was getting bad advice. He was coming in flat, And then he made this resurgence when he kind of joined the Camel Crew over there, and he just did really spectacular. I don't know how old he is yet. I'm assuming he's probably approaching 40 at some point or close to it. You know, he's a mass monster, and he's one of the most impressive guys out there, obviously. I was a huge Roelly Winklaar fan. I still am. I think he's a great guy, too. I've interviewed him multiple times. I really like him a lot. I would, you know, I might start moving away from the sport at this point and just work on marketing myself. Maybe start my own nutrition company or something related to that, and really get involved in starting to make money. I wouldn't necessarily stop competing yet, but I would start looking for my escape plan at this point, because I don't think it's going to be good for his long-term health to continue slamming his body the way he is and staying that big and huge. I think he can still be super freak, and he can still win, like, you know, regular shows, and use that as a marketing tool for whatever business he wants to start at this point, which is going to be his future after bodybuilding. And I would give myself like a 2-year or 3-year, plan to escape bodybuilding at this point, because I don't think he has to prove anything anymore. I think the young guys are coming up now. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be able to beat these guys moving forward, and I don't necessarily know if it's going to be good for his health to try to beat these guys anymore. You know, he's got nothing to prove. He already proved he could be the biggest and freakiest guy on stage. The pictures are there for eternity. He was third at the Olympia. You know, I don't know. To me, there's no reason. If he has injuries, which I think he's dealing with at this point, there's no sense in putting your health in jeopardy. Use your popularity. Use the love that the fans have for you to make money at this point. And stay involved in bodybuilding, but maybe not in a competitive sense. But you know what? He could prove me wrong. He can come back next year and win the Olympia. I don't know. But that's just my gut feeling on the whole thing.
Let's go to Big Run Athletic Body. Dave, is it advisable to use CLEN in peak week, especially on carb-up days?
What I do is, because I use, if I'm using CLEN with a client, I will, the last 2 days before a show or a day before and then the day of the show, I cut back the CLEN dosage down to like 20 micrograms twice a day so that it enables them to carb up properly. Now, I can cut it before that if they're in really good shape and they don't need it, but you can't just stop clenbuterol when you're carbing up, because you can have a negative rebound off it. But if you stay on a little bit of it, 20 to 40 micrograms a day, you're not going to have that carb inhibiting effect. Because what clenbuterol does is it raises glucagon. I think it raises glucagon is really the way it inhibits it. So when you're raising glucagon's job is to take glucose and store glycogen in the muscles and the liver and put it into the bloodstream. So if you are trying to glycogen load and clenbuterol is causing glycogen, to be removed from the muscle, which is good for fat burning purposes, but it's not good for, carbing up. So assuming you're in shape, the last day or two, I would lower clenbuterol down while you're carbing up to allow the body to glycogen load properly. But I wouldn't take it out completely, because you could get like a very big watery retentive rebound off of it.
Let's go to Alexander B. Carlson. Does gear affect kidney stones? Should you stop cycle if you get them? Would PCT, Clomid, and HCG have negative effects on kidneys and kidney stones?
Yeah, I don't think that anabolic steroids, there's any evidence really to prove that they cause kidney stones. Now, if they overly acidify the body, I guess maybe indirectly can cause kidney stones. I don't think so. I don't really see a very high incidence of kidney stones in bodybuilders. You would think if anabolics caused that would be that you would see that more prevalently, and we don't. So probably dehydration has a little bit something to do with getting kidney stones. High acidity in the body, because you cause these calcium stones to form. So to me, I wouldn't. If you had a kidney stone, I wouldn't necessarily cut back my anabolics, just because I think they were going to make things worse. Probably wouldn't make things worse, is what I'm thinking. Like I said, unless your body is overly acidic, but that's usually diet related and supplement related, and that's something you can fix without necessarily having to come off the anabolics. I might want to come off the orals, because they put a little bit of stress on the body, but I wouldn't necessarily stop the anabolics now.
Let's go to Taylor Vation. Been training for 2 years and never deadlifted. How would you incorporate them into a program for someone that has never done them? Sets, reps, frequency.
Just start. How do you start anything? It's funny, because I haven't really trained my legs for 2 years, because I've been home. I've been doing like that stupid cable machine with the in or out. I thought, you kind of put that little cuff around your leg, and You can do abduction, adduction. And it was really bugging me that I couldn't train my legs. Now I also have a quad that's not fully repaired. So my right leg has like maybe 25 or 30% of the quadricep muscle there. So I just didn't do anything. My muscles really started to atrophy on my legs. So when I went back to the gym just recently, I'm training at Crunch here, fitness now in Cape Coral, just opened up, beautiful gym. I started training my legs. I'm like, how am I gonna start doing this? Well, you just go do it. I started as if I never trained legs before. I went on the leg extension machine, I did really light extensions. I went on the curl machine, did light curls, and man, did I feel it, because I hadn't done anything. I even started incorporating some light squats. First I just did air squats, then I put the bar on my back and just did those. So you have to start somewhere, but don't go into the gym and see these other guys deadlifting 405 and think you're gonna put 405 on the bar. You put 10 pounds on each side and you teach yourself technique first. Now you can do it on back day or you can do it on leg day. Those are the 2 days usually I recommend doing it. Deadlifts, that is. And learn the technique first and then the weight will come. And don't try to go heavy too fast, even if you can lift it, because you will be crippled the next day, I promise you. Once you get through 3 or 4 weeks of training, kind of just learning technique and not worrying about the weight too much, then you can start increasing the weight and you'll be okay. That's my suggestion. Some guys are not going to listen. They're going to go in there. They're going to try to deadlift, 225, 300 the first time they're in there just because they lift it off the floor, and they're going to wind up hurting themselves. Don't let your ego get involved. Purposely keep the weight light until you learn good technique.
Let's go to V-Rod. If someone was doing 800 mg of tests in a week, how many days and how much would be good injection amount each time to equal that amount for the week?
Yeah, I would probably do 200 milligrams 4 times a week if I'm going to do 800 total milligrams. That's just how I would do it. You could probably get away with doing it twice a week, 400 milligrams twice a week if you wanted to. There's no real rules. You're using long-acting compounds, you can do it. I just found that like an every other day kind of like injection protocol seemed to work really well for me, and I got much more even levels of the stuff. But at the end of the day, you could probably take it all in one shot. I just think you're going to get very high peaks and some very low drops, even though you're taking a long-acting compound, because it doesn't matter. It peaks anyway. You never have a steady state. But if you take it every other day, you kind of have more of this kind of effect going on the graph. It's kind of closer to a straight line as opposed to having this. I found that when my levels of hormone fluctuated in my body, I broke out more on my face, and my moods were much more up and down, and I didn't really like that. So I think that if you can spread it out, over multiple shots throughout the week, you're better off, even with the long-acting compounds.
Time for a couple of more questions. Let's go to Akshay Pandey. I know we've talked about this in many ways, but in terms of just, fans watch the show, they want to know what the pros do. So what do professional bodybuilders do specifically to train their abs, like days, reps, sets, exercises, etc.?
I can only tell you what I do. I don't know what everyone else does, and I don't think there's a right or wrong thing to do. I think that the wrong thing is not to train your abs. Some guys think that if they don't train their abs, their waist is going to be smaller. That's not the case. You just lose abdominal control. You don't have the deep etching in there. You never leave one body part off. Plus, it leaves a weak link in the chain. Okay. I've told the story a million times. I stopped training my forearms at one point when I was competing, because I figured they're big enough. I get indirect work from them, and you know what? I started getting severe wrist pain whenever I would bench press, because I created a weak link in the chain here, and so these were weak. Even though they looked big, they were weak in certain areas, especially around where the tendons attach, and it was causing me pain on other lifts. So I had to start doing it again. So you never create a weak link. Having said that, I found that if I could build up to sets of like 75 to 100 rep crunches sets, I could do 1 or 2 of those, and maybe 1 or 2 sets of leg lifts. And when I'm talking leg lifts, I'm talking about lifting you like 6 inches off the ground. So if here's the ground, your legs, you start about 6 inches off, they go about like this high, and that's it. Just lifting with your lower abs. And then if you really want, you can kind of do some side crunches, but I wouldn't do too many because sometimes that can thicken the waist. Just going straight on not only works the rectus abdominis, but it also works the obliques anyway indirectly. So you can do 2 sets of 75 reps of crunches if you can work up to that. You could do 2 sets of 75 reps with leg lifts, those 6 inches leg lifts. and do those 2 or 3 times a week, man, and you're good. I do abs every time I weight train. So if I weight train 5 days a week, I do abs 5 times a week. If I weight train 4 days a week, then my abs get trained 4 days a week. I find that if you do them consistently, and I have people tell me, oh, I don't only have so much time in the gym. Well, you don't need to do abs in the gym. You can literally do them while you're watching TV at night. That's when I do it. If I'm watching, I try to de-stress for like a half hour to an hour at night, just after the kids go to sleep before I start working again. And I'll just lay on the floor. I'll stretch. I'll do abs and just lay on the floor and relax a little bit. And this way I don't have to add it to my workout at the gym, especially now with COVID. Who wants to lay on the mats in the gym when people sweating, with COVID? But it's just one less thing you need to do in the gym. And that's, I think, going to be helpful. And if you get in this routine of always doing abs, like I said, 4 or 5 days a week, your abs will always be strong. You don't need to lift heavy weights. Use body weight. That's what I found. If you start using too much weight, sometimes you thicken your core up too much. And you just don't need that. You want abdominal control on stage. The ab structure is very genetically gifted. I mean, genetically determined. So some people just have nice abs, some people don't. Obviously, if you want to have thicker abs, you need to work them. Otherwise, you're going to have a very thin layer of abs, which may be very hard to bring in on stage. Sometimes they fade more easily. So you want to have a little bit of thickness where you can show grooves and muscle maturity down there. And to get that, you have to train your abs.
Last one is from Chris Sanders. Dave, what do you think about legacy in bodybuilding, like Mike Mentzer, and how his HIT method affected Dorian Yates, and how the likes of Dorian, being a mass monster, has shaped bodybuilding today?
It's funny. Mike Mentzer made the heavy-duty training system popular, but he didn't invent it. Arthur Jones invented it, the guy who owned Nautilus. And, but Mike popularized it, I guess you could say. And then, people took it to the next level. It's interesting to see the synthesis of where a lot of these things come from. And, I always, I'm a big, I guess, historian in a sense. And I did a lot of research on what the best training methods were for myself. And I found that the heavier duty, less sets, more intensity, worked with more rest, did way better for my body. But I've seen other people do better from more volume. And because that's just the way their bodies respond. I overtrain very easily because I have a very fast metabolism. So what Dorian was doing resonated with me much better, and I got good results from it. However, I didn't really do the strict, I guess I didn't follow all the Mentzer rules, which was like 1 or 2 sets, per body part. I just didn't feel like I was getting enough activation of the muscles. So I was doing, 6 or 8 sets, which was still way less volume than most people were doing, who were doing 25 sets to 30 sets. And so I found that, if I took a more middle-of-the-road approach, which is always usually the answer to the question, is this the right one or is this the right one? Well, it's usually this one in the middle that works the best. And I found that worked best for me. Now, some people might not have to go right in the middle. They might go a little bit more towards, if here's higher volume, here's low volume, they might go a little bit over here. So they're not going super high volume, but they're going a little higher volume than maybe what I was doing. Other people might say, I like the Dorian Yates Mentzer approach. Dave's good, but I'm going to go a little bit lower than Dave because even my metabolism, I overtrain really easily and I need more rest days. So you have to find out what works best for yourself. With guys with fast metabolism, I usually try to steer them towards a lower volume approach. For people with a fast or slow metabolism, I should say, people who get fat really easily, I try to let them do more volume.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Reminder right now on the YouTube channel, loads of content from Olympia weekend, and of course all the breakdowns over the last couple of days. We do have a couple of more things going up from this past Olympia weekend, including an interview with 4-time Mr. Olympia Jay Cutler from the International Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, where Jay was inducted. So we have not only the interview that we did with him, but as well as his speech. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, Lee Priest and Iron Rage going live tomorrow.
And Sid, I got to say one more thing. If you guys haven't downloaded the McDonald's app yet, I'm going to tell you, I love the McDonald's app. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm going to tell you, there is, by the way, if you buy a supersized, if you buy any size shake or McFlurry, you get one for 25 cents. But that's not the point. The McDonald's app is great. I'll tell you why. Because you can actually, at your house, order your meal. You can pay for it with your credit card. And when you get to McDonald's, you pull into one of the spots there. that they have these numbered spots, and then it comes up on your app, and you can actually hit the number where you're sitting, and it will finish your transaction, and they will bring the food out to you immediately. Did you tell me about that?
Yeah, I told you.
Oh, Tyler, I'll give Tyler credit. He'll give, but it makes it super easy to buy McDonald's, and I know I've been sending a lot of my people who are getting ready for shows to McDonald's multiple times a week. So guys, get the McDonald's app. You get free rewards. I get free fries and chicken sandwiches all the time. You sometimes have to argue with them a little bit, but I'm telling you, the McDonald's app is where it's at.
I think I know the title of this episode.
I wish I had. I wish I had a
McDonald's app.
I wish my Dave Palumbo app. I should try to get McDonald's to integrate with it. You know. Sid's gonna get the app.
Nice.
Sid is gonna get the app as soon as we hang up. I know it. I can see it.
You
You have kids. You have a child, Sid. You got to get the McDonald's app, man.
I will get the McDonald's app,
Yeah.
and I will speak to McDonald's corporate about incorporating and doing some sort of integration with the Dave Palumbo experience.
Oh my
app.
God, that would be
And we're
great.
set. We are set.
You know, in the late '90s, I wanted to work. In the mid '90s, I wanted to work for Metrics. That was my
Metrics,
goal.
right?
I've told that story multiple times. Nowadays, man, if I can do it, I'd love. If I could ever get a sponsorship with McDonald's, I mean, if the gods are listening, McDonald's, no one advocates for you more than Dave Palumbo does. Please come to me. Attract. Power of attraction to the universe. Come to me, McDonald's.
Should you be asking God that, or you should be asking Ronald McDonald?
Probably isn't Ronald McDonald God? I thought he was.
He's the guy.
He's their guy. He's their
He's
little
their guy
administrator.
for McDonald's.
No,
right?
you know what? I
Yeah.
like the consistency at McDonald's. You know what? I've gone to Dubai. I've had McDonald's there. I've
Same
had
thing.
McDonald's in Hong Kong, China. I've had McDonald's in Barcelona, Spain with Victor Martinez. I've had McDonald's in like Denmark and in Finland, some of the greatest countries in the world. I've gone to McDonald's because I always get the same freaking consistent meal there. And that's something that you should be proud of, McDonald's.
And on that
You're
note,
speechless.
that's going to do for
Speechless,
this episode of Ask Dave. Download the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Download the McDonald's app. Those are your marching orders. For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.